If you want more content, push that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 800 subscribers, so if you like this video, subscribe and spread the word.
The goblins will get you if you don't watch out. To take you and shake you until you shout. Stop, look, and listen. It's Halloween. There's witches and broomsticks and big black hats, stirring up the potions in big black vats. Stop, look, and listen. It's Halloween. Cornstalks standing in the fields at night, the old gray house without a light, the cold white moon shining down so bright, with you and me standing there and shaking with fright, sneaking past the graveyard on trembling knees, faces peeking out at us between the trees. Please stop, look, and listen. It's Halloween.
Hello, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache. And today's review is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, let's get going. A doctor named Dr. Jekyll is trying to confirm his theory that man has both a good and an evil side to him. To prove this theory, he invents a formula that turns him into the opposite of himself, the violent ruffian, Mr. Hyde. He unleashes his more violent and aggressive self onto the dance girl Ivy, while fighting Hyde to regain control of his body. So, what do I think of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Well, I like it. I especially love this poster. Now, keep in mind, my only experience with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde comes from other media, like his appearance in The Pagemaster, a very underrated film. You should definitely go check it out. But putting that aside, I do not know what has been changed and what has been altered from the book by Robert Louis Stevenson. But taken on its own, I really liked it and enjoyed it. The film was directed by Ruben Mamoudian, who also directed The Mark of Zorro. And actor Frederick Mark, who plays Dr. Jekyll in the film, won the Academy Award for Best Actor, alongside another actor, Wallace Beery, for his role in The Champ. The first time and only time that has ever happened where two actors won the Academy Award at the same time. The film was a commercial success and a critical darling. It gained great reviews from the New York Times, although most critics tended to compare it to the John Barrymore Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The film also got great reviews from Leonard Maltin, who praised it to hell and back. The film also got a remake starring Spencer Tracy in 1941, which, knowing me, I'll probably be reviewing that film somewhere down the line. This film starts out with a rich guy playing the organ until he's interrupted by the butler, who tells him it's time to get going. He gets up And we see everything from his point of view, like him following the butler, until we get a reveal of who this guy is, and it turns out to be Dr. Jekyll. Why, of course. Dr. Jekyll is played by Frederick Marsh, who is also in I Married a Witch. Dr. Jekyll is a good man before and even after he turns into Mr. Hyde. But even before he becomes Mr. Hyde, we see the loving interactions he has with his fiancée and the care he has for his patients, as we see him trying to help a girl on crutches to learn how to walk again. He takes away the crutches and tells her to walk towards him, which she does. And she is more than happy with glee to walk again. If only it were that easy. Well, anyways, it's a very sweet scene. Also get to see him helping an old lady. And the doctor tells her that he needs to operate on her, telling her that you need to hurt a little bit before you can get better. Even saves a woman from getting beaten. So we could see that Mr. Hyde has a good heart. He even carries her up the stairs and up to her room. Finally see him transform into Mr. Hyde. There are a lot of great camera tricks. And even the way he turns into Mr. Hyde is, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to let Rick Baker tell you how the effect was done.
Clever things. One of them, and something you could only do in black and white, is this red-green thing where they would do a makeup in red, paint the shadows in red, and light it with a red light, and in black and white the red disappeared. And then they would fade out the red light and fade up a green light, which made the red turn black. So you would actually see, him look normal, and all of a sudden these shadows and these things would appear. But they also did some really clever things just with camera moves, where the camera would do this quick pan down to his hand, and during that pan they would do a cut, and then it was like a different makeup.
And by 1931 standards, this effect is pretty damn realistic in the way he turns into Mr. Hyde. And let's talk about Mr. Hyde now. He is the pure highlight of this movie. You just can't take your eyes off of him, no matter how hard you try. And at least this is a better representation of Mr. Hyde than that crappy video game of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde made on the NES. If Dr. Jekyll is a kind old gentleman, then Mr. Hyde is the polar opposite of that. He is a ruffian. He is so violent. He is an asshole on pretty much every level. He breaks a champagne bottle to scare a guy. He trips over a waiter with his cane and literally beats him. And after all this crap that he does, even in a public place, no one ever attempts to arrest this guy. Although that could be because he's freaking crazy. He jumps around and swings on things like he's a monkey. More like a monkey on a pair of springs. It's time to talk about the elephant in the room, or more rather, Ivy's room. You see, Mr. Hyde terrorizes Ivy, and it is a very uncomfortable scene to watch. He's kissing her neck. She's crying her eyes out in fear. And she asks her to sing, and she's singing cryingly. And then she goes into her bed, and Mr. Hyde will. There's no tiptoeing around the obvious. He raped her. Give me a moment, and I'll be right back. This is the part where Henry screams his head off. Ah! There he goes. Oh, sweet honey nut Cheerios. The evil, the evil. Mr. Hyde rapes a woman. A woman! What the hell is wrong with you? You sick, twisted bastards! This is just wrong! Keep in mind, I have no idea what changes and alterations they made to the book. So I'm not sure if he does this in the book or not. So I'm going to need some assistance. Hymetude, what changes and alterations did they make between the book and the film?
Well, there might be a lot of sexualized violence on film, but none of that was in the book because, hey, it was written in Victorian times. You would have to be crazy to write something like that in these times. The bobbies would have thrown you in jail and thrown away the key, and no more fish and chips or bangers and mash for you.
Do I have any problems with the film? Well, there is two. One of them is after Dr. Jekyll takes Ivy to her room, she starts undressing in front of him. She's completely naked in bed, and Dr. Jekyll and her make out despite the fact that he's getting married to another woman and the fact that you can clearly see her breasts. Do you hear that? That's William Hayes' head exploding. Many of these scenes were cut during the re-release in 1936, but they remember to put them back in for both the VHS and the DVD release of this movie, so thumbs up to you guys. Another problem with this movie is that many of the transformation scenes were not revealed until the 1969 book, The Celluloid Muses. But other than that, I don't have too many problems with this movie. This movie is really good. And like Dracula and Frankenstein before it, it deserves its place in horror history. So for that, I give it 5 gold stars. Your host with the mustache, signing off. Check out my other shows, Modern Classics, TV Treasures,